ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerdlings of all ages. Hello and welcome back to the Auzom Premier League. We are in week 8 and the final week before the season playoffs commence. I'm JoRoSaR. Joining me is Talha, and we have iTwisterr on the observing desk this evening. Tal, how's it going?
It's going great. Happy to be back. Auzom is back after a little while. The tournaments have been going on, so they've been kind enough to make some space for these players to play in these other tournaments. But we are back, and the finals, as he said, are this weekend as well. So it's all or nothing for some of these teams.
Exactly right. These guys will be playing today for the chance to be one of those top teams and hopefully reach the Lobby 1 situation that they are all gunning for next season. I believe we have a couple of teams in this lobby today that are in pole position to possibly snatch a place off of one of the incumbents. Who are they?
Of course. So one of the teams is Millennium, a crowd favorite Millennium with Damien, the Sexco, and Yuki. They're actually on 44 global points, so that puts them 3 points behind the team that is currently 16, which just Plumbers. And they're 1 point behind Kingwin, who's in Lobby Red. So if they have a really good week, or if they have really good games today, and Kingwin doesn't, then they might be able to go up. However, Plumbers, being 16th, they're about 4 points behind 15th place, but that team is Lumbermill. That team has Wookie Bookie, Trifeli, Gustav, and I don't know who's playing as their fourth today, but on the roster it says Kate, and they are a really good team, so I think they might be able to hold their position. So right now, it is just Plumbers that is up for grabs. Their 16th spot, that is Kingwin and Millennium. But not far behind is Noxious. They are only 2 points behind Millennium themselves. So you've got 3 teams this week fighting for a place in that Lobby 1.
So it's really all to play for here in this lobby, and of course the other teams are still going to be trying to get as high up the leaderboards as they possibly can. We've had a 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock plane, or 3 to 9 o'clock plane rather, with the center of the circle this time around looking fairly normal. I have to say, I was on the desk for a couple of games for PUBG Online on Monday night, where literally every game was like centered on Novo, or centered on the western edge of Military Island, or like something like Stalber. Every single game was Wacky Circle, and we had 3 out of 4 games finish on the Military Island. So it's nice to see a little bit of normality here.
I started calling them esports circles, the ones that are just completely east and west. Yeah, that's what they are. You know, you only see them like in the competitive games. I think I was in Copenhagen for the tournament, and I think about 60% of the games it was just not centered the circle at all, and it's great fun watching it. But for the players, you know, it's not so much fun to be in that situation. You don't have much time to loot, and you've got to travel. Traveling is dangerous in PUBG.
Exactly right, and the further you have to travel, of course, the more teams you will have to go through. In this lobby so far, though, it looks relatively peaceful. As things currently stand, we are watching Velociraptor currently move through Milta. Love his name, by the way, one of the best names in the lobby. Absolute class, this man. And Milta, not particularly contested, so they will have an easy time going to grab as much of that loot as possible. And they're also just inside the next circle, so not an awful lot of urgency here.
Of course, this is Team Wilma coming back at it. I think a couple of weeks ago we had a bit of a problem. They couldn't play, didn't have the players. But yeah, they've got Milta to themselves. They've actually split up a bit. They've got Realzy in a Milta factory, so he's got that all to himself, while Team Wilma and Milta power themselves. And oh, here we go. Look at this. We've got SDL, one of my favorite teams so far, just because I've played against them in normal pub games, and they have absolutely annihilated me every time. But this is a really good strat that they're doing. They've gone 1 guy prison, 1 guy shelter, and then 2 mansion. Enough loot for everyone there. Not too sure about the shelter. I mean, you've got 2 times ARs, so it's nice and easy to get the weapons. But they've kind of got that part of the circle nice and under control. They're about a minute to 30 seconds to a minute away from each other, so they can get back up provided the person can stay alive.
It can be a little bit awkward, certainly later in the game. You go somewhere like Shelter, if another team sees you doing it, they can effectively hole you up in there, and it's very, very difficult to get in or out. Of course, it's fantastic as long as you're the only people there and no one's watching you, but it's one of those high-risk, high-reward sort of loot locations in the game.
Of course, it's got this kind of open area between all the entrances, but the entrances themselves make nice cover, but it kind of puts you on a higher ground. And not only from that, you've got this massive dip towards the God Compound or Granny House, that kind of that cover that you can't use, and people can spot you easily. And there we go. SDL looted up a tiny bit. Just gonna make the rotation out, get a bit closer to each other. Meanwhile, Quick games off into a little firefight with Rax.
This is a good thing for Quick to be doing at the moment. So he is the only member of his team in this compound. This compound is, I mean, it's a compound near the center of the circle. What he wants to do is make noise and dissuade a full squad from joining him at this compound. He's basically holding out until the rest of his team from myTech can get there from Yasnaya and join him. Because if any squad rocks up in a car with 4 people in it, I assure you he is going to be in a lot of trouble right now. So his job is to stand there, shoot everybody who goes past to let them know this compound is occupied, don't try and take it, and see if they dare to call his bluff that all 4 members are here. And of course, in 9 out of 10 cases, they won't. That means myTech are going to be securing this compound very close to the middle of the circle.
It's a good compound to have, especially like there's a cluster of these 3 compounds on that road. That road kind of links everywhere to the map. It just runs straight down the middle. So if you need to go towards the northern side of the map, everyone's going to be going through that through those roads. Tongue twister through those roads.
Through the tongues, we get it.
Through the tongues, of course.
We got what you meant.
I think I just saw No Loot Gaming just doing their usual strat of sitting in Pachinki and looting it up all game. So yeah,
I mean,
not much changes. It does.
Well, look, Pachinki's one of those places where if you form a reputation for always dropping somewhere, then a lot of good teams will say, even if we're slightly better than you and we have 60-40 odds of winning a team fight, why would we risk that in the first 5 minutes of a game when the goal is to be one of the top 3 in the end? So a team starts getting a little bit of a reputation, like another example would be Moonwolf going Milta, Team Liquid going Yasnaya. There are a couple of teams that kind of have their favorite spots for looting.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that these guys have Pachinki to themselves. Anyone that wants to contest it with them early game, be my guest, but it's not very much gain for the possibility of going out of the game in 5th, like in absolute last place.
Attacks, alternate attacks, making the rotations quite early. They sent out Rax as a little scout, and Frost has caught up with them. And you've got Kaigood and Lurkson making their way in. So getting into that center circle quite early to get a good position.
This is a lovely compound as well. It's similar to the compound that a lot of casters like to call the best compound in the game, which is the one that looks like this building but is near the bridge on the approach to Georgopol. I'm sure a lot of you will know it fondly. In fact, Twister's going to identify it now because he loves going there himself. If you have a circle centering on that compound and you have that compound, ladies and gents, you've half won the game already. It's a fantastic piece of real estate to defend and also quite difficult to barge in on, even if you have a lot of grenades.
Was it actually that compound that Twister just like?
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I have the only problem is that if the circle lands on you, then it's a really good compound. But if you're forced to go out of it, you don't have vehicles. It's just a lot of flat land with hardly any cover.
It's true. Well, you have got the dip by the river. In that northern bit, but we can discuss that when the circle falls on it next game, because we're basically caster cursing it into existence. So I'd be surprised. Exactly, I'm sure it'll pop by. G2 into the circle now, and they potentially will be taking a look at Pachinki on their way in, but I don't think there's any real urgency for them to do that at the moment. G2, of course, one of the favorites, and definitely a lot of people with the emoticon spam in the chat will be rooting for them this evening. We have what I think is the first crate of the game, landing just north of the river, north of Rojok. Don't think anyone has taken that, and to be honest, given the location of the teams, I don't think anyone will either. Oh, that is Sunburn getting out of the game, walking straight into Reels, so that's a kill for Noxious over there on the east side of the circle. I think they're going to go loot up now. Not really sure what he was doing over there.
Well, that's an easy kill, so we're down to 42 alive, actually. Not a lot of players in this game today. But going in, you can see the rotations coming down from all the teams, coming in from the northeast side, just on a simple road. A lot of these teams are making their rotations quite late. We'll find it really hard. I'm going to look at, Botsman, Flix, and Co. They're just going to ride up onto a hill make a fortress out of cars, and then just defend that as much as possible and see where the next circle takes them. People staying away from the compounds around school, Wozop, and the apartments. However, they run straight into alternate attacks.
So, whole bunch of shots going out there, and actually Flick's getting his vehicle completely lit up. He goes down as well. Mobsy also going down. This is not a good game for House of Nobles as well. Is it Botsman or Venety, the last person alive who is still in a vehicle? But I believe they are down to one person right now. That is not ideal by any stretch.
They were driving. I was just going to say they want to go up into a hill area, make a fortress, but they drove straight into alternate attacks. And then they drove away from them and bumped straight into MyTech, who have still got control of that compound. So now, it's dangerous.
So it's always a little bit of a, how do I put it? It's a balance, right? The later you leave your rotation into the center of the circle, the more likely you are to go across teams that already have compounds or have good positions and can shoot you as you go past. But here's the interesting thing, though, Talha. We haven't really seen that much in the way of big rotations, and it's because this circle is really centered. If this circle was on Primorsk or on Stalver or on Novo, and like 80% of the teams were in vehicles running around, you would actually see a lot more deaths from people in cars getting taken out as they go into their position. So far this game, I know this is Caster cursing it to hell, we've only had one team run into a situation where that was dangerous. That's considered quite low, I think.
It is. This circle, well, we don't really see the wildebeest anymore, do we? It's like the great migration of the wildebeest.
Exactly.
As soon as the circle appears, everyone is in their vehicles and you get about 300 cars moving in.
Well, depends on the circle, right? You get your Primorsk circles where and the plane's gone east and everyone's there straight away. So it really is circle dependent.
So we've got a little long range fight coming in from No Loot Gaming, and is that G2 up on the hill as well. Just showing what their territory is, and you shouldn't really go for it because it's a bad idea. However, if I'm right, I think we just saw Noxious. Okay, yeah, Noxious moving around center circle, just staying away from MyTech as much as possible. While this next circle does come out, it's a very, again, less centralized, but it still has the majority of stuff in the circle, some good areas.
Kavorka and Co, that's Team Noxious. They will find a decent compound in the north half of the circle there. Where they're driving at the moment has quite a lot of empty compounds. We're looking here around MyTech, who are comfortably just hanging out. Noxious there, looking like they're going to be taking up residence in, well, definitely one of the god compounds that we quite enjoy playing in. It's really difficult to sneak up on these guys, of course, but equally difficult to move out unless you have vehicles, and luckily the tires on those vehicles are also protected by the walls, so a relatively safe position for Noxious to take at the moment.
Of course, they rotated early to this compound just in time as Team Wilma actually took up their old spot, and now they're being attacked by MyTech from this compound. The whole migration is coming in now. You've got aTTaX moving out, and Finguin running out into the open towards attack. Oh, Lundy coming up on G2 and actually taking out some, the majority of G2 players.
Getting double kill there. Absolutely fantastic stuff coming out there from Lunda, and he completes that kill for Team Wilma. That really puts a massive dent in G2's hopes for game number one. Wacko and Steven are in vehicles and still running reasonably nearby, but they are giving these guys a wide berth right now. Suddenly, they have had to change their game plan in a big way.
That's a massive problem. You get caught rotating, especially. It's not even that late to rotate, but you just don't really know who anyone is unless you've got the information. And now look at this. G2 are caught in between SDL and that's not Team Noxious, sorry. Team Wilma up on the high ground. They've got a bit of a dip, but if Wilma needed to, they could actually just push down. Meanwhile, in the south side of the circle, Symphonize.
Symphonize, they're looking for the opportunity to grab a shot or two. Will be able to spot and take out the vehicle, and I think actually gets someone from Team Red Zone down, so Celis is going to have to move behind the shack, ever so slightly awkward for him, but they managed to roll with it. I'm watching Tomato right now for the flank. He gets one on the flank. If he gets a second one as well, that's going to be absolutely massive. The Team Red Zone are going to be in seriously dire straits, having to go prone because he has to reload, and he manages to get them, and that is Team Red Zone out of the game. We are down to 10 teams now, and Techers gets up as well. So this is Gate Esports taking out a team.
What an insane... You call him Tomato. Is that... God, the numbers. That Wow, it is actually Tomato.
Well,
I can read
it's tomato technically. And,
Tomato.
Speaking from the UK, I know that hurts, but unfortunately, because he's used the number 8, I'm going to go with he very explicitly wants to be American. Why he's playing on the EU servers, I don't know. But
that was a really good flank coming out from him, and using that like high ground and low ground cover to his advantage. Yeah. And taking out those 3 kills, really important for them, and that puts them up one step closer to the victory spot. Alternate attacks not actually moving out from the yellow buildings just yet. No need to.
Yeah, and after hearing potential commotion, they'd be very happy to sit pretty until the next circle reveals itself at this rate. So, a little bit of action, 34 people alive, and 10 teams still here. You are watching the Auzom Premier League. This is the final week, week 8, before the season finals this Saturday and Sunday. These teams are fighting for position and also potentially fighting for the opportunity to represent themselves in Lobby 1 next season. So a lot to play for here, and we've already seen quite a bit of action here in game number 1.
Velociraptor trying to find a fight with SDL. It's not a really good position they're in, to be honest. Team Wilma. It's quite open and from all sides. They've got a couple of trees. They do have protection from their east, which is where SDL are, and if I'm right, G2, unless they've moved, and a bit of protection from the west of them. But basically, their south is a massive hill, and they can be spot on as people are coming down. However, the next circle does pop. No one in the north west side of the circle, but it is just closing in towards Rostock School and apartments. And there we go. Alternate attacks. Kygod goes in first for the little scout. Bossman takes some shots, but he's by himself. Everyone is rotating in. The vehicles try and get one of those good positions as fast as possible and don't get killed while you're rotating, which might happen to Finguin.
Oh no. And I wonder if this is team 12 in the compound with them, so No Loot Gaming. I wonder if they knew that Finguin was alone in the vehicle, if they went, that's a driver and no one else, we should push him. However, there are more vehicles coming by now, and I think that is going to deter them from moving in on him. They were probably thinking about it, and instead No Loot Gaming now, together with MyTech, are going to have to share this compound.
MyTech are actually wanting to contest this compound. They're not going to go any further than this. And Quick gets a shot onto outside, a headshot. His cranium is gone. Going to throw a nade. Hopefully that nade makes it in and gets that kill confirmed. Unfortunately, it doesn't.
Oh no, Rafi and Velociraptor both jump. That must have been a vehicle that was about to blow up. They wouldn't... I mean, press F to pay respects, boys and girls, but that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah,
and yes, it is. Look, Kavorka getting the kill. They were jumping out of a vehicle that was about to blow up. That makes perfect sense.
It's just unfortunate. So this compound here still under high tension, while they're being shot at from other teams as well. SDL taking that bike in quite deep.
I was about to say. Hello. Bonnie saying hello to 2 squad members. Was expecting the first guy outside, but maybe not the second. Door getting shut. Everyone coming out the windows. What is this? Rainbow Six? What's going on here? MyTech win that fight without a shadow of a doubt. That is No Loot Gaming, I think, out of the equation here. But they still have squad members alive elsewhere, I think, because there are still 10 teams alive. There we go. 2 people, aTTaX and Jansen, sitting else. That was a weird fight, man.
That's what happened. Okay, so everyone just decided to jump out the window. Rainbow Six.
Rappelling down the side of the building, one after the other. That was weird and impressive at the same time, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out for them.
Jansen and aTTaX, the last people remaining, they were trying to give some sort of covering fire and backup from their compound, but it didn't work that well for them. You got again some teams taking up residency on the hills. Team Wilma, Lundy and co. Little did they know that G2 on the yellow house is just below them and SDL further back.
Not the safest of positions here, but I would argue it's safe as long as they don't fire a shot, if you see what I mean.
This hill is interesting. It has like small dips and stuff where you can actually be covered from all sides, and because it's kind of the only high ground in the next like 50 to about 150 meters, not 150, sorry, 50 to 70 meters, they're okay apart from the building where No Loot Gaming are in, but they can still take cover from that. So they just need people watching their backside to make sure they're not going to get pushed up.
Exactly, because at the same time, if you give away your position like they're doing now, because they just got some shots off at G2, if someone was feeling particularly aggressive, they could run through the dips and it's really difficult to only have to defend yourself from 1 or 2 angles here.
Of course,
So
yeah.
it's definitely high risk, high reward. They have a nice position on top of that hill with the dips, and they can basically choose where to go next, and it's nice that they have a bike there as well. On the other hand, there are so many directions they need to be looking in if they're worried about giving away their position.
Of course, anyone can push up, and because there's a 360-degree view that you need to be careful of, you can be pushed from any direction, and there we go. The circle is going to force Team 15, Team 8 a bit further in. As Team 15 makes a rotation around school, they're going to be running straight into alternate attacks, who don't need to move at all. Neither do myTech, and well, not really anyone else needs to move. They can just stay put and wait for the next circle.
Exactly right. And the circle centricity has actually been quite consistent this game, and we've had teams needing to move, but they don't need to move a crazy amount. We've generally had a relatively stable contraction of the circle into the middle of the map here. So fewer teams dying en route and more teams dying in firefights once they get to their destination.
Speaking about en route, you've got myTech shooting team number 8 en route. Wick gets really low, and so does Fate, but they do make it into cover. But you've got Nero coming in at the back. Will they be able to make it in? Just about safe. Just about.
Oh,
some lovely shots coming out by Fingerwin.
A little bit close there for comfort, but Fingerwin won't quite be able to get the down. Oh dear. Never mind. Pokes back out, and Vascu says, thank you very much, mate. I'll go ahead and finish the job, and he actually finishes him too. Wick can't even revive him. Brutal stuff there from Vascu.
A misplay, I think, coming out there. You had perfect cover. Unless it was Botsman, team number 5. Botsman is still alive after his team got taken out. House of Nobles on that rotate right at the start of the game.
Hang in there, Botsman. We believe.
He's just waiting. He's waiting for the perfect moment to move in. And this is kind of the part where we get into the game where the circle is big enough where teams can just stay put in their compounds, but they don't have to do much. And they're just going to have the medium to long range fights and see if they can do any damage and whittle down their armor and health and whatnot. But you've got Team 15 here, Gate Esports, coming in on this insane flank. They were at school earlier, and now they're coming in on this northern compound onto alternate attacks. And I don't think they have a single idea this is the case. They do have someone looking in the back, though.
They're a little bit lucky in that the first building they came across had no one in it, but the more they continued to push in, the more they are at risk of getting absolutely annihilated here. Alternate attacks are looking for someone to fight. And if I were Gate Esports right now, I would consolidate my position in one of those houses and listen out and take a look, because this could be very dangerous. Never mind. And, oh, that's an awful position to start the engagement off from Kygon. He gets taken straight out of the game by Techers, so maybe they will get that advantage they were seeking after all.
Making this into 3 versus 4. They need to push up. They did hear them. Kygod gets taken down, but look at this. Alternate just kind of fall back a bit, and now they're just holding the angles on the behind. They're a bit scared. They were not expecting that at all. And it's going to be a little firefight from Lyrics, and he gets taken down as well.
I'm impressed, actually. I did not think that Gate Esports were going to push in like that. But after getting the first down, pushing in on Lixern makes complete sense. Now the rest of alternate attacks are, well, it's going to be a 4v2 situation. Tech has actually gone down. So we'll see if Tech can get revived. Something tells me that Tomato won't actually make it in time. Frag coming out there, spotting his potential position, just trying to get him out of there. They will hear the footsteps and know for sure that someone is there. That's a third member of alternate attack going down now. Frost gets taken out of the game as well. That leaves them with 1.
Frost gets taken out, but he does get the kill onto Techers, and you're just left with Rax, who is sitting in a building, holding his little corners, and he's, no, this is really bad. He's just shoving himself into a place where he can't escape if they decide to push in. But other than this, he's got no other choice. This is all the cover that he has.
Exactly right. So he's moving from building to building. They would have actually heard the window being smashed there. People potentially coming in behind. Oh, he spots them moving out. Very nicely done there. Can potentially sense them climbing through the window. The door opening. More people flooding in from the back as well. Rax goes down and alternate attacks are out of the game. We are down to 9 here in game number 1 of Lobby Blue of the Auzom Premier League.
After a long time, so there we go. You've got Gate Esports. They actually just lost 1 person in that whole fight, but a bit of damage to their economy, to their armor and helmets. Hopefully there's some lying around for them to get. But meanwhile, what's happened here? You've lost quite a few people from Team Wilma. And Lundy's the last one up at the moment. He's going to put a smoke down and get that res off onto Peterham.
And we were talking about how this hill tends to be a little bit double-edged. It looks like while they were shooting at G2 rather, V2, who are they? Noxious may have come round behind and gone, actually, let me go ahead and take some of that. And indeed, Kavorka finishes off that kill. So, almost what we were talking about earlier comes to pass lesser for lesser. I don't really know what to say. You give away your position, you stay on the hill like that, other people are going to come and knock it.
No caster curse today, so that's Noxious moving in. Meanwhile, NoLoot Gaming trying to hold their little compound against SDL, while SDL do a two-man push. Max and Jojowitz, they're going to go in really hard.
Grenades getting chucked early on. Everybody letting each other know that they are there right now. Nice nade. Did that make it into the top floor? Is that going to explode onto Jensen? No, just beyond. It looks like it went into the next room, which is why Jensen decided to stay where they were. NoLoot Gaming continue to try and defend there. One member of SDL is down now. I believe that is that Yo-Yo? I think it might be. Yes, it is. I can barely see that through the smoke. Matt's here doing a good job on the ground floor, but he can't make further progress just yet.
Oh, this is really good. He's actually smoked the stairs off, so it's easier to push in for him. But Roscoe and Pac-Man moving up, pushing in with them. Meanwhile, you've got Crispia taking out Wacko. That's the last person gone, and that's G2 out of the game as well. 6 teams alive. And this little fight is not going as planned for SDL. They have lost another player, Jansen, taking all those kills for himself.
Pac-Man trying to obscure his footsteps with the smoke. But what is the angle of attack from here? I don't know. Molotov going up onto the top floor. I think it misses just so that Jansen will still have a view onto him from the top window. Not ideal for him at all. Their hopes kind of rest on this right now, because if they get on the bike and drive away, that's free shots available from the people inside the compound. If that's a risk they're willing to take, then fair enough. But they could just straight up die. And what's worse, Noxious are coming up behind them.
Noxious are indeed coming up behind them, and they're going to start shooting. Pac-Man is caught in a really bad position. He gets taken down. SDL down to one person who is pushing in, and well, aTTaX picks up reels, so that stops the push of Noxious a tiny bit and gives Matt a bit more time to play around with. But the circle centralizes into the middle in favor of Noxious, so that means NoLoot Gaming and SDL have to push up further.
6 teams remaining. NoLoot Gaming and SDL continuing this fight inside the compound. At least it is a 2v2 right now. Noxious looking like they're in a beautiful position, because the other side of the circle sees aTTaX still holding out against Gate Esports, but both of them are going to have to move in soon, and that is going to be a big fight. I can see Noxious, if they stay out of trouble, being the big winners in this.
Crispia finding the head of Jansen, and Jansen gets taken down, so buying them some sort of time. Meanwhile, if we were right, we just saw Gate Esports doing the same thing that they did to Alternate. They're actually pushing in on the compound on aTTaX. Fate and Wick still alive. Just their fate. They're going to be pushing in. But look, Noxious has the circle. They've got a really clear path behind them, so they don't have to worry at all. And they've got a nice hill to defend themselves from. SDL Max actually takes out Jansen up in the top there. He's down to 1v1. But aTTaX is going to jump out the window, and he just sees his gun.
This is an interesting way the game's going, Talha, because quite often in these sort of circles, you go, the team in the compound still has 4 members left, and everyone out in the open are tearing themselves to shreds. Well, guess what? Noxious are out in the open, and everyone in the compounds are tearing themselves to shreds. This is an interesting dynamic we have here in game number 1.
So much more exciting. Can we just have a look at what's going on in the other compound between Team 15 and aTTaX, Team Gate Esports? Because if I'm right, they've made just a line. Yeah, there we go. Look at the amount of ground Gate Esports have covered. They know they need to make some sort of play as the circle is closing in. They need to push in as fast as they can. Finguin does spot one player Spoof. That's his name, sorry.
Spoof.
Tomato gets taken down.
Vazku with the kill once again on that one. He's actually been kind of on fire this game. Spoof now going in with the smokes. Or schmokes, depending on how you want to see things. Trying to take some shots at Finguin, but goes down to about 10% health himself. Not ideal, with the circle about to hit him as well. Oh my god, that is huge! And that is massive chunking. This is not first circle territory, ladies and gentlemen. And he instantly goes down. Advantage right now, resting with aTTaX.
We're gonna see Symphonize just sit in the blue and heal up a bit. He can make it into the circle, but he's just gonna get completely obliterated. He's just waiting for the circle to push aTTaX a bit further away, so his path is completely clear to go. He does have one more first aid, so he can chunk it, survive it a bit more. But the next circle is going to lock in and is going to hit him so hard, he might not be able to do this. But he's coming behind, and that is aTTaX getting taken down by Noxious from across the way.
Oh. Very nicely done. And suddenly, look at this. The compound is bare. And who is the victor here? It is Noxious. 3 teams with 7 alive. And I think Noxious have all 4 players alive. I mean, we have Purge with 2 members down by South. They've actually had a relatively quiet game. 3 total kills for their entire squad. And Wick actually getting all 3 of them. They're chilling out at the moment, but every squad has just had members picked apart left, right, and center, except Noxious, who seem to be standing on the hill, king of it all.
We're giving some covering fire. He does get a knockdown, but that gives the chance for Fate to move up a bit forward. But little do they know is Finguin on the left of them, still alive. He can see pretty much everything that's going on, and that puts Fate not in the best position. He has to go prone, as that's his only cover, but he won't be able to move that well.
He sees Finguin. Come on out, Finguin. We know you have to move. And Fate only has to wait a couple more seconds. Everybody with guns on Finguin right now. And aTTaX have to be thinking, I swear we did the right thing by holding this compound. Wick, a little bit careless with the blue there. He's going to have to heal up. And Finguin does go down, leaving 2 teams and 5 alive. It's a 2v3 now. Purge versus Noxious for the win in game number 1.
Fate and Wick, so Fate is just holding the front line while Wick needs to heal up, but he has to cross the road, and the second he stands up across the road, he's going to be out in the open. They're kind of unsure where Fate is right now, but he's going to push up. Oh, they've both crossed the road. There we go. Now it's a 2 versus 3. Well, they've got Kavorka. He's actually making a wide flank, and I think Wick knows what's up. He heard the silenced shots, and they're just going to defend it.
Kavorka versus Wick is almost the story of this game. That frag doing a lot of damage to Wick, but he's still not showing his position. Here comes Kavorka over the horizon. Hasn't spotted Wick prone yet. He has now, though, and Wick goes down. Nicely played there by Kavorka, using the frag grenade to force him to reveal his position. Risknas goes down, but not before Fate reveals his position as well, and Kavorka trying to get him from long range with the silencer on that M4. Fate hasn't spotted him yet, but he certainly does now. Going prone, and Kavorka going for it.
Oh, my God. There we go. What a game.
Noxious. Incredible stuff, by the way, because they were the only ones not in a compound. We have to remember when we got down to our last 4 or 5 teams, possibly with the exception of Purge, the teams that weren't in compounds ended up being the teams that were fighting against each other at the end. Incredible stuff from them, wasn't it?
Well, it was great. They saw the best position in the next circle, and they saw that Team Wilma had it, and they just decided, you know what? Someone needs to push them because this hill is easy to push if they're not defending it, and they weren't defending that angle that they're pushing on from the south. And they did it. They took that hill and completely dominated, and it was a bit of circle luck there as well for them. The circle centralized on them. That was the best position for them for the next 3 circles.
Absolutely. So 11 kills, and we pick up a win for Noxious, who are one of the teams that are looking to get promoted into Lobby 1 for next season. So this is going to put them on an incredibly good footing indeed. I'm JoRoSaR. Joining me is Talha, and we have iTwisterr on the observing desk. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with game number 2 right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere.